Good day, ladies and gents. All right, so we're going to be continuing Unit 10. We're going to be doing completing the squares, circle style. So a couple things you need to have on your desk. Definitely want these Hot Topics pages. So on this Hot Topics page, it gives you what the standard and general form of the circle equation, and it also gives you an example of how to change from general to standard. But that will be in the future. But right now we're just working on standard form, and also gives you on how to go from the picture to the graph, and a bunch of other lovely things. So while we're here, let's make sure that we update this. Couple of things. If you need to remember that this is what a circle looks like, that d equals 2r and area is pi r squared, circumference, which is the perimeter, is d pi, and pi equals 3.14. You might want to put it on here. We have a bunch of extra space here, so let's go ahead and just write that in there. So things that we might need to remember. So if we have a circle, this is the radius, and all the way across would be diameter. And we know that d, which is a diameter, is equals 2r. I'll zoom in a little bit. Okay, also, we know that area equals pi r squared, and circumference equals d pi. And the other thing is pi is equal to 3.14. That's the number we're going to be using. So this might be some extra information you want to put down. Also, you might want to put some extra things about how to square and how to simplify squares. So there's that. So you might want to put that in there, but I'm not going to do it right now because not important at this exact moment. Okay, so here we go. All right, so completing the square circles. All right, so we have the standard form of the equation. Oh, which is actually what we're doing today because we already did, actually did circles, the equation for circles yesterday. Okay, so today's standard form of a circle is x minus h, that quantity squared, plus y minus k, that quantity squared. That quantity, so that all together, that's what I mean by quantity. So that quantity squared, so that means I'm putting it in parentheses, so I'm bunching that together, is equal to r squared, where you're just going to have plugged in h, k, and r. Those are the only things you want to plug in. All right, center is whatever h comma k is, and radius is r. That's what we want. Okay, so in this case, h, k, and r. Okay, so this right here, this will be x minus a positive 2, right? Plus y minus a negative 1 equals, and what's 16? Well, that was equal to r squared, right? So 16 is equal to r squared. When you square root both sides, 4 is equal to r. So basically what this was 4 squared. So my center is a positive 2, comma, negative 1, and my r is 4. So notice that when you pull out the h and the k, they feel like they flip. So when you pull out your hk, they feel like they flip, and when you plug them back in, they feel like they flip. So you might want to put that on your Hot Topics page. So when you plug in or pull out or take out hk, it feels like it flips. It feels like it flips the sign. Okay, so that's what happens here. So when you plug in your HK or you take out your HK, if the sign feels like it flips. So same thing here. So if I plug it in this time, this would be x minus a 4, that quantity squared. Forgot the squares here, over here. Y minus 3 squared is equal to r squared. So whatever r squared is. So let's go ahead and look at this right here. So we have a center and we have this random point. we have a center, and we have this random point. So what's happening is we have 1, 2, 3, 4. I'm just giving you a visual of what's going on. 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3. So there's the center, and I like to put a little X right there. And then at 8, so X, Y. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, comma 0. So right here is edge of the circle. So from here to here would be the radius from the center to the edge. And then so that means that we have a big old circle like this. So to find the radius, I need to find the distance between those two. So there's a couple different ways how we do this. We've done it before. So there's not a lot of space on this one. So this would be my X, my Y. So instead of X, I'm going to put the number 8. And instead of Y, I'm going to put the number 0. And that is going to equal to R squared. Okay, so in my calculator, I can actually type it out exactly how it looks. So parentheses, 8 minus 4, close parentheses, squared, plus parentheses, 0 minus 3, close parentheses, squared, equals. And so this is 25. So 25 is equal to R squared. So all I did was just write this down and get that left side. So that's going to be my R squared. So it would be X minus 4 squared plus Y minus 3 squared is equal to what was R squared? Just the number 25. Now, if that didn't make sense, that's okay. You guys did this in a particular unit. You guys did this in the previous pages. So I just bunch it up in this little spot. So if you did not understand that, please ask me in class, and I will go over that and space that out for you instead of, and you can just do it on a separate sheet of paper, and that will be enough. Okay, so you know what? I'll just go over it real quick. One more time, that same problem. So I'm just using scratch paper. All right, I'm just gonna do it one more time. So center was 4, 3, and my circle, my point was 8, 0. So I'm just doing that same problem one more time. So this is my HK, and this is my my XY. So I just wrote out the equation: X minus H squared plus Y minus K squared is equal to R squared. All I'm doing is plugging in everything I know. So my H was 4 minus my, let me try again, X. So 8 minus H, which is 4, squared, plus Y, which is 0, minus 3 squared equals R squared. So all I'm doing is plugging in everything I know into the equation. So basically, I just skipped this earlier step when I did this. So I just plugged it in without writing the equation earlier. Okay, so now all we have to do is type all this out into our calculator and we get this number. But if you want to show some extra work, 8 minus 4, that's 4 squared plus 0 minus 3, that's negative 3 squared equals R squared. That would be positive 16 plus positive 9 equals R squared. We get 25 equals R squared. We could go a step further, square root both sides. 5 equals R. Okay, so all we have to do now is plug it back into the original equation. And we have, and I ran out of room, so I'll put it up here. So X minus H, that quantity squared, plus Y minus K, that quantity squared, equals R squared. All I need to do is plug these things in. So X minus 4 squared plus Y minus 3 squared is equal to, now I can just go ahead and put the entire R squared there, which was the number 25. So the difference between all of this and what I did earlier was all I did was skip straight to this step, got this, and then I wrote out the final equation. So I just did the rest of it in my head or on the calculator. Simple as that. And that's the difference between this showing all your work and this right here. So you do what's comfortable for you. Okay, so that was just a little review of last class. All right, let's move on up. Okay, so now this right here, it's going to take you a minute to understand how to do this. You just have to trust me and be patient with yourself. Be patient. So what we're going to do is take this and turn it into this. So we have to defoil, basically. You know how you foil to put it all together? We're going to defoil. So here are the basic steps right here. This is how you complete the square. We're going to be doing those things. So you just have to trust me. All right, so this is what's going to happen. First of all, you're going to take this equation. You're going to take this equation and you're going to make it look like this. You're going to make sure that all the x's are together, all the y's are together, and that the number is on the other side. So the x's plus the y's equals the number. All right, so I'm going to change colors. So maybe you have a pen and a pencil. Maybe you have a black and a red like I do. All right, so first of all, I'm going to take all the x's. So x squared, and we have a minus 8x. So I took care of this one and this one. And then I still have a plus y squared minus 2y. Now I want to throw this number onto the other side. So how do you move that? You would add 8 to both sides. So that's equal to a positive 8. Okay, now the next step. You're going to take this b right here, this number that's next to the x. Do not skip steps on this, okay? So this, we're going to take negative 8 and divide by 2 and square it. That is negative 4 squared, which is 16. So that's a bubble thought. So you're just going to put that in a little bubble. Same thing here. Divide by 2, which would be a negative 1 squared, and that equals a positive 1. And that is a bubble thought. All right, so just be patient with yourself. So you have no idea what's going on. You're totally okay. All you did was divide by 2. That's the first step. And then you squared it. So divide by 2 and then square. So we want this little part right here with parentheses, and we want our final little answer. Now, what are you going to do with those numbers? So I'm going to write this over again. So everything is still there. Okay, now what you're going to do is, you see these numbers that you have right here? You're going to add 16 to both sides, and you're going to add 1 to both sides. So basically, this whole number you just found, you're just going to add it to the other side. And then this right here, you're going to make that into a factored, so you're basically going to defoil that. So you see what you had in the parentheses? So it's going to be x and whatever was in the parentheses, minus 4. So what was in the parentheses, you just write it again. The same thing. You're not flipping or anything. Okay, you're not flipping. This is not an h. This is just a parentheses at the moment. Squared plus y, and whatever was in the parentheses, the same exact thing, minus 1 squared is equal to, now add these together. So 8 plus 16 plus 1, and you get 25. All right. So you do this, and then you can go straight to this if you like. Okay, so I'm just showing an extra step of what's going on. Okay, so now we have our equation. So this right here is our equation. X minus 4 squared plus y minus 1 squared is equal to 25. And then from here, you know some extra things. And what are those extra things? We know that our HK, now we're taking it out. We're taking it out of the equation to get our HK, so it feels like a flip. So that is a positive 4. And, sorry, this is, so positive 4, and we have a positive 1. And then your R is whatever the square root of that is, right? The square root of 25, which is 5. So because and then so that's our answer. So our R is 5 because that's 5 squared, right? Okay, and that's it. All right, so right now you're like, that kind of looks easy, but I'm not sure. So just trust yourself. Just go through the motions. Just go through the motions. Once you know what you're going to have plenty of practice. Once you know what you're doing, it's going to go by really fast. You just have to give yourself some time to understand. All right, so let's give it another example. Let's give it another try. All right, so we're on page 7. All right, let's do it again. All right, so first of all, we need to make sure that everything is in order. So before we start this, we got to move this around. So we need all of our x's on one side and all of our numbers on the other side. So I'm going to add x squared to both sides. And that I would have x squared plus 8x plus 30, well, I want the y squared, right? Y squared plus 32y. And then I still have a negative 263 on this side. All right, so let's go ahead and bunch this together. I have x squared plus 8x, leave some space, okay, plus y squared plus 32y, leave some space, is equal to that number, negative 263. All right, okay, so now we're going to divide this by 2 and square it. So we have a positive 8 divided by 2 squared. That would be a positive 4 squared, which equals 16. Okay, so that's a bubble thought. Over here, same thing. We're going to take a positive 32, divide by 2, and square it. So 16 squared. And you get 256. And that's a bubble thought. So all we did was divide by 2 and square it. Now these numbers are going to add onto the other side. Those numbers are going to add to the other side. So we're just showing more work on what's going on here. So x squared, I'm just writing it over again so you can see my thought process step by step. Negative 263. Okay, so we're going to take these numbers. Basically, we're putting a plus 16 on both sides here. And we're doing a plus 256. So that's us completing the square so that we can defoil this. All right, so now whatever was in parentheses, write exactly what it was. So this would be an x, what was in parentheses? A positive 4. And then put a square at the top. Okay, plus y, what was in the parentheses? A positive 16. Okay, square that, is equal to, now add those numbers together. Negative 263 plus 16 plus 256. And we get 9. All right, so what we have is x plus 4 squared plus y plus 16, that quantity squared, is equal to 9. Just the number 9. Okay, so that's really a 3 squared, by the way, right? Okay, so we have your HK. So now that we're taking it out to make HK, that's when you flip it. So while we were doing this, the parentheses, you do exactly the same, but now that we take it out of the equation or we plug it into the equation, the HK, that's when you flip it. This wasn't an HK earlier. This was not an HK. Now it is. Now we're going to take it out. What do we get? That would be a negative 4, and that would be a negative 16. And then what was your R? It would be whatever the square root of 9 was, which in this case is 3. All right, so there's our equation, and there's our HK. All right, so now that we have a basic idea, let's go ahead and see if we can skip some steps here. All right, so here we go. So we have, so bunch it together. So you have your x's. So we have x squared, and you have a minus 16x, leave some space, plus y squared plus 2y, leave some space, is equal to, now we're throwing the negative 15 on the other side, so when you do that, you would add 15 to both sides, so it would be a positive 15 over here, so equals 15. Okay, so now the next step, we have we're going to divide by 2. So negative 16 divided by 2 squared equals negative 8 squared, which equals 64. That's a bubble thought. And then over here, we have a positive 2 divided by 2 squared. That is positive 1 squared, which equals 1. That's a bubble thought. Okay, so now what's happening? These two whole numbers you got right here, these positive numbers you got, you're going to add that onto the other side. So we're going to add 64 here and add 1 here. And so now I'm just going to write the parentheses. So parentheses, this is my x, and I had a minus 8. And I put that to the power of 2. Over here, I had y, and I'm going to have a plus 1. That quantity squared. Make sure that there's a plus in the middle here. Equals, and then we're going to add those together. 15, a positive 64, and a positive 1. We get the number 8. You ever feel like you did something wrong? Oh, that was a 6, not a 16. So I got 80, and I'm like, you know what? I usually get pretty numbers, so I caught a mistake. So I'm like, oh, let me make sure I wrote it down right. This was a 6. Man, I was so close to getting this whole thing done correctly. So this was a 6, which is a 3. Jeez, the whole problem's wrong. Oh, man. Okay. You know what? Let's just start over. Unless you want to just do little fixes here. So that's a 9. That's a 9. Man, I was so close to getting this done. Okay, that's a 3. All right, 15 plus 9 plus that 1, and I got 25. Okay, it's not always going to be pretty, but it was a big warning that something was probably wrong. Okay, but I'll just finish this off, and if you want, I can do this over again. So there, I fixed that. Okay, so now the equation is this, and I can go an extra step and go HK and my R. So my HK is a positive 3, negative 1, because when I take it out, it feels like it flips. And my R is whatever the square root of this is, square root of 25, which is the number 5. Okay. But just in case you wanted to do that over again, because that was a little, because of my typo, I'll just do it one more time. All right, so we had x squared minus 6x, leave some space, plus y squared plus 2y, leave some space, equals 15. All right, so that was what the equation was supposed to be. All right, so take this, divide by 2. We get a negative 3 squared equals 9. That's a bubble thought. And then we have positive 2 over 2 squared, which is 1 squared, which is 1. So now we're back in familiar territory. We're going to take those whole numbers, add that. So those positive numbers right there. And whatever's in the parentheses, write that down. So we had x and then that minus 3 squared plus y. Whatever's in the parentheses stays in the parentheses. So plus 1 squared equals, add those together, you get 25. So, and that's pretty much it. You just need to have a lot of practice with that. And the last thing we want to talk about is how do you type that into the calculator? Sorry, not the calculator, but how do you type that into the computer? All right, so you would do parentheses, x, the minus sign, 3, close parentheses, and then there's this caret, which is above the number 6 on your keyboard, the caret, and then you put the 2. Then we would say plus, parentheses, y, plus 1, close parentheses, caret, to the power of 2, equals, and you would just put 25. So that's how you type it into the calculator, computer. This is how you type it into the computer, and if you need to, you could go ahead and write that on your Hot Topics page, And also, when you're typing it into the computer over and over again, you're just changing numbers here and there. I highly suggest that you copy this into a Word document, and then every time you type it into the form, you just paste it and you fix the numbers, and that will save you a lot of time. And that's about it. So other than that, just do the next page and see how you do. Good luck. Have a great and wonderful day.